Welcome back to Tourist Journeys. This segment is about travel stories, and today we are going to talk with Jesse about Budapest.
Yeah.
Recently, I've been teaching Jesse Russian, but I find it very difficult to come up with lesson plans. Then I found the app called Lean. Lean is a highly interactive app, and it makes learning a new language fun. If you're trying to learn a new language, I suggest that you check out Lean. Click the link in the description. Jesse, you've been to Budapest twice. 2000 for a week, 5 days, and 2013. Share with us your experience in 2000, briefly.
Well, 2000 again, I was talking about how we were on this trip with 40 students going around Europe, German Europe, and we were going through all these different countries by rail, bus, everything. And so one of the places after going from Paris to Czech Republic was Budapest. And it's 2000. And we arrived, we stayed at a hotel, I think it was called Astoria. And I remember when I went back in 2013, I looked it up. And the reason why I can kind of find the area that we were in was a restaurant called Alcatraz.
Oh.
And it's actually, I think it was still there in 2013. But at the time, this was like, it's 8 years after the Soviet wall fell. And so there's no bars, there's no restaurants really, but Alcatraz was there. So all of us would go to Alcatraz to eat. And so actually it's funny enough, it was still there. And so we were there for 5 days, and we continued on. And then I came back in 2013.
Yes.
And I told you before I wanted to go to Berlin, and Brian coming to Budapest. And so I was there for 7 weeks this time.
7 weeks. What time of the year you were there?
When I left Miami, I left in October, ended up getting down there, I think, a little bit after November, after Thanksgiving. I was there, it was December, I was staying in a hostel, I think it was Tree-style hostel, and I was in Budapest. I was there, it was cold, and here I am, here I am.
I know you, at that time, you just got your new camera, and you wanted to take pictures. Tell us about it.
So when I left, I had my camera, bought my camera, and I thought I was going to take these pictures and do all this stuff, but one other day I would. I'd go out there. I actually had a friend from Roseburg, and his ancestors were from Budapest, and he could trace them right to Budapest. So he would send me messages over on Facebook Messenger, hey, can you go out and just take pictures of Budapest? And so I took some walking tours, and I learned more and more about Budapest. Some facts I knew about Budapest was that the architects from Vienna came to Budapest to design and lay out and do all the architecture of Budapest. So Budapest and Vienna can look very similar. And also, Budapest has the second largest synagogue, second to New York City, which I didn't know. I hope that's correct. Yeah. But Budapest has it has a lot of cafes, a lot of bars, and the nightlife has come a long way. And now Budapest is a great place to be, and it's great for a lot of reasons because it's easy to walk. The way the city's designed, especially in the heart of it all, it's easy to walk around. It's easy to get from one spot to the other, and especially if you have a bike, it's really convenient.
In which area did you stay?
I stayed right in the heart of it, and if you know where Simpla is, it's one of those ruined bars which became very famous. It opened in 2002, so it was 2 years after I was originally there. And so it was really neat to kind of see how things evolved over 13 years. And so I stayed a few blocks from there. So it's kind of like in that whole area. And where Simpla is, it's like on a side street compared to another street, but that whole street now is kind of like where all the nightlife is. Budapest is broken up into districts. I just forget the district that I was in at the time. But it was a great district because even throughout the day, you could go to all these cafes, and there was one specific place, and I'll have to again put the name of it up, that you could go to the cafe, and on certain days, they would have people playing instruments, whether it was the piano, the violin, and again, you could buy, you could purchase coffee for, I forget, it was like $2 or $3, and you could buy a pizza. I mean, things in Budapest are not priced like Germany or even like France. So it was very convenient, it was very nice, and totally walkable. That's the thing I really liked about it. It was walkable and a lot of things to see.
Share with us what people can expect when they come to Budapest, not knowing much about it.
Coming to Budapest, it's one of those cities that you can get lost looking at all the little boutiques, all the art galleries, checking out all the cafes. You would love it. Lots of coffee places. But it's more interesting if you can learn about the history of Buda and Pest. There is a river that divides the two sides, so people will learn right away that there's actually two cities that come together to form Buda and Pest. So you can walk across the bridge, the chain bridge. It's a beautiful bridge. You can go up to the castle. You can take a beautiful picture of the city. You can go see, I think it's called Heroes Square. There's a lot of other things. I don't have all the names, but it's a very walkable city. It's very picturesque, and you could easily spend 5 or 6 days there. You can take the trolleys, you can take the underground, you can visit the flower markets, you can visit the opera. When we went to Budapest in 2000, that was the first time I saw an opera, and of course they are beautiful, and it's just, the lady's voice was amazing, especially being in Budapest, in the opera house at the time, and you're just thinking, just the history of that opera house. And so I think if somebody really kind of wanted to come to Europe and visit a city that is manageable, to walk everywhere and have all the points of interest kind of in a general area, Budapest would be a great city for that. Now, I talked about before Berlin. Berlin's huge. Formerly it was like 7 cities.
Yes.
And you have to really plan your route because everything is just far. Budapest is not that. It's very compact. You can walk to everything, and it has the charm, it has the feel, the people are nice, and you could easily do Budapest in 3 to 7 days and really have a good experience in a European city.
Nice. So 7 days, 7 days is the good amount of days you can.
Well, you know me.
I
stay for weeks at a time sometimes.
Yes, of course. That's the best way to learn about the city and to live the life as a local.
Yeah.
So now you're not only local in Germany, in Berlin, but also in Budapest.
Yeah, I have a residency there.
Yeah. Share with us your highlights from your trip, from your stay in Budapest. What was the most exciting things you did?
Well, typically I would get up, again, during the day. I would go out to the city and I would learn things I learned on YouTube. So I would watch YouTube about the history of Budapest. I did the same thing when I was there.
Yeah.
And I would go out and see it. They have, like for instance, there was this place on the river where a tragedy happened, so they have these kind of, I forget the name of it, like this hardened steel, I don't know, it's copper or something like that. And they have all these shoes, and it's where like a massacre had happened. So I would go there and I'd take pictures of the shoes, and then you could walk around and see the different districts and the architecture. And at night, I would take pictures of the chain bridge because it has like these light bulbs that light it all the way up across the river. The Parliament, when I was there during 2013, they were renovating the Parliament. But in 2000, the Parliament was open. And so we went in. Some interesting facts I learned about the Parliament was that when they originally constructed the Parliament, everything to build the parliament and to finish, like all this marble and stone, had to come from Budapest, or come from Hungary. They actually ran out of marble and they couldn't finish the parliament with natural stone. So they had to make kind of like a fake, I forget what they call it, a fake stone to finish it out. But when you go to the parliament, everything in that building comes from the country. And so my daily routine was kind of going out and exploring different districts, seeing the architecture, seeing the monuments, and just kind of understanding the different points of what's going on in Budapest. And I really, really enjoy Budapest. I really enjoy it because of the size. Yeah. It's not overwhelming. So I go out and take pictures, see the place, go to Hero Square. I went to the baths, where they have like these natural spring baths. You go there. I went there once or twice.
Tell us a little bit more about Nightlife. You talked about your experience in 2000. How did it change, progress to 2013? What was it about?
So when I went back in 2013, I saw several bars being built, and it's all in one district. I want to say it's District 7, something like that, I think. Maybe District 9. And all the bars are being built in this area. And you can kind of just look on a map where Simple is, and it's just all within a radius. And there was actually this new street being built where all of these restaurants and bars were being built at the time. So again, like in 2000, when I first went there, it was a different time back then for Eastern Europe. They were kind of getting used to this whole thing about tourism, and it's funny now, but at the time we would order, you know, and they'd always walk up to the table right away. What do you want to drink? And you know, typically when you go to a restaurant, it's like, even though you know what you want, you always look at the menu. Yeah. And they're like, I'll have a Coke, or I'll have a Pepsi, whatever it is. So they always come, what do you want? It's like, well, get the menu. And so, you know, one person would order, they'd get their plate, 45 minutes later, the other one would come out, and you know, Americans, we're kind of like, what's going on? Yeah. But there's only one bar that we could really find, and this is before the internet, per se, and it was at Alcatraz. It was Alcatraz.
Interesting name, also for Budapest.
And it was also kind of like this prison theme. So, but I did see 13 years later, Budapest was really kind of building up their bar scene, and they really liked that foosball game. Oh yeah. Everywhere you go, they're all playing foosball, but they all kind of learn from each other. So they all know how to get the ball positioned just properly, so like you really can't stop from going in by having it the bounce. So that you see he's gonna, and then bam, they get it in. It's like, dude, that's your only move. That's very hard to counter. But anyways, but they're always playing foosball, and there was this one particular bar on the corner that had the cheapest beer, cheapest shots, cheapest alcohol, and then you kind of start your night there, and you kind of the crowds would move around. And the nice thing about people who live in Budapest, they're very easy to talk to. So if you're a solo traveler or traveling with a group, it's very easy to kind of like talk and meet people. And a lot of people speak English. And so I saw how far things come along, and they kind of all carry this theme of a ruin bar. But some of the bars would have like a 70s and 80s theme. So each place would kind of have its own twist on everything, but it was a lot of fun going from bar to bar to bar to bar to bar. And some of the bars were very fancy, and some were this way. And we went to this cafe, and it was a ruins cafe. And if you haven't really known what a ruins cafe or bar is, just imagine if you took like, just, I don't want to say a bunch of junk, but it is. Some of it still works, doesn't work, and just plaster it to the wall. I mean, if you have like an arm of a baby doll, just put it right there. If you have the head, stick it over here. You have half of whatever. You just kind of put all this stuff around, and before long, it kind of like looks like a theme. Well, this is what the ruin bars are, and it's not so much like the place has fallen down. Of course, they kind of make it look like it has, and maybe it has. But this cafe was just, you go in there and you're having your coffee, you're kind of looking around like, what is that's the baby's head, that's its leg, there's like the half of a typewriter, and that used to, and it's very interesting. But this is kind of carried out to the whole theme of Budapest. And when you're there, you kind of get wrapped up in it, and it kind of has its own charm, and that's what makes Budapest so magical. That when you're there, you don't really mistake it for another city. It's its own city. They've done really well with it. So that's the reason why I chose to stay in Budapest for so long at that time, is because I really like it.
Yeah.
And I want to stay here and learn more about it. And that's what I did. So it's come a long way in 13 years. And I'm sure even today, 20 years later, it's even gone further. And I don't know what it is today.
Yeah. We'll have to go and check it out.
Yeah.
I've seen many great pictures on Instagram, and it is a really beautiful city.
Yeah, it is. It's magical. I mean, again, I liked it.
Was there a spot in Budapest that you would go several times?
I often would go down by the river, and I would often walk around the river. At the time that I was there, they were redoing the metro line right there in front of it, and I think that the trolley was running, but whatever they were doing, they were redoing it all. They had everything down there, and oftentimes I would just like to go see the river. You had these bridges that go over the rivers, and you had on the other side, you had the castle, you had the mountains, and hilltops, and it was just open space that you could kind of enjoy being there. And that's where I would find myself most often kind of venturing down into. And when you get down there, you can always see the traffic, you could always see them stuck in traffic, and it was just a place that I just kind of enjoyed. I would walk across the bridges. I think there's like 3 bridges that go across that you can walk, and I would just spend most of my time staring at the Parliament too. Oftentimes I would go on the other side and walk, and then you could have the Parliament in front of you across the water and with the reflection at night. So I'd go there all times of different day and take pictures of the Parliament. And just kind of, there is a park further down, but it was kind of cold, so going there, I think it does kind of close in the summertime. It's always kind of open, but nothing's really going on, and there's not like flowers blooming and trees, so it was just kind of dead. Hero Square, I go to Hero Square, and it's another big open space. It was nice, and when I was first there in Hero Square, back in 2000, there was this guy, there's always people doing tricks, right? And he had a trick with his dog, and his dog would hide behind like a wall or something like that. And the trick was that he would show you, like, look, there's nobody around, there's no animals around. How much would you pay me if I made a dog magically appear? Something like that. And he'd have like this whole spiel. Like, you would win a few, and then you build up your confidence. Like, okay, there's no way there's gonna be a dog around here. And then all of a sudden, he would make a motion with his hand, and that border collie would just run out there, and then you would lose all your money.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So, I mean, there's always little tricks like this. But I'd hang out there, and then by the baths, there's another big park up there that I'd walk through, and there's like an old castle, I think, in there. And then in the wintertime, there's kind of like this big open concrete area, and they flood it in the wintertime, and then they freeze it, and then there's ice skating there. Also, what I would go do is I would walk through the Christmas markets down by the cathedral, and they had like all this, what you'd think, they had all these little huts that were made out of wood and painted brown, and they would sell the milled wine, which you would enjoy, and they would sell the caramel
apples.
Yeah, that and the caramel popcorn, and it was just a festive place to be. And they had the big Christmas tree, and you had all the lights. So it was pretty. So there's always these places you kind of venture out to see and just kind of do. So it wasn't just one spot. Lots of places to venture out to.
Yeah. So you've been there. So it was 2013 going into 2014, right? So you've been there for the New Year.
I was there for the New Year.
How was the celebration?
Well, it was really cold. I keep saying it's cold, but I'll tell you. But the thing is it's difficult to heat those buildings too. So it's not like it's just cold outside. Yeah. You go inside and it's just as cold. So you're always having to wear something. I met this guy on couchsurfing called Sergio, and he's like a DJ. And I think if anybody does couchsurfing or sees anything, Sergio,
they know where
this is just the name of Budapest. And so at one of the, I don't want to say club, but bars, he had a New Year's Eve party. So I went there, it was a lot of fun, stayed, and I met up with him several times. But one thing I do want to share with you, one memorable thing that I almost missed talking about, was Budapest was one of the first times I went to a meditation class.
How was your experience?
I met this guy through kind of a meetup, and he was from Arizona. He just got done going to school for becoming an instructor for meditation. And so he opened it up to the public, and about 3 or 4 of us showed up there, and he did really well. And it was the first time I've ever learned how to, quote unquote, kind of control your mind. You know, how your mind always races out of control. And it was about an hour, not the meditation, but the whole thing. It was about an hour and a half. And when I left there, I felt like I could walk on clouds.
From Budapest, you could go several other places. What would you recommend?
From Budapest, actually, if you fly in and out of Budapest, it can be a little cheaper than other cities at the time I was there. Now, trains, you can first make sure you get to the right station, because there are different stations in Budapest. Trains, they have the Vienna train that goes straight to Vienna. It is more expensive to take that specific train, but you can take the train to Bratislava, Slovakia, and then you can take a bus into Vienna, and it's actually cheaper. Now, at the time I was there, it was cheaper to go that route. So you can go to Vienna. I think those train tickets are like, I don't know what the prices were at the time. Let's just say it's $50. But I can take the train to Bratislava for like $5 or something like that. It was very significant. And but Bratislava is also a great little city. So you can go to Vienna, you can go to Slovakia, and I actually ended up leaving January 2nd, I think, because the first January 1st it was booked. So January 2nd, I took the train early in the morning from Budapest all the way to Berlin.
Wow.
And I forget how long the train ride was, but it wasn't that expensive and it's possible. I think it was, I don't know, like 9 hours, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's
But from there, you can go further south, you can go to the east.
So it's in a great position to...
For Central Eastern Europe, it's more at the bottom. But again, you can even go further south if you want. Further south. So it's a good spot too. It's definitely a place, wherever you're traveling, go through Budapest, spend 3 or 4 days, and again, keep your itinerary flexible.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe you show up and it's just pouring down the rain, you're like, next time. Or who knows, maybe it's sunny, there's festivals. There is a big festival that actually goes on there in, I want to say June, May or June, because I had friends who went to it. And so they do have festivals there in the summer, but again, you know, keep your itinerary flexible, and that's a great spot to come and then go out from there. Lots of choices.
Do you recommend coming to Budapest in winter?
It does have its charm. The lights are out, the Christmas theme's out, the lights are out. I did have a little bit of snow showers when I was there, nothing major. It does have its charm in the summer, or in the winter. They do have a Christmas market, they have trees, there are things to do, there is skating to go and do. So yes, I mean, if you're coming to Europe and you're looking for some place to go in the winter, hey, let's go to Budapest. Is there something to see in Budapest in the winter? There is, definitely is. Are you gonna come there in the summer? There's lots of things to do.
Yeah.
You know, anywhere in Europe in the summertime. But yes, winter, summer, it's a great time. Of course, summer, better.
Jesse, thank you for sharing with us your experience in Budapest. Budapest seems like a really nice city. It's walkable, it has lots of history, has lots of cafes, restaurants, bars, nightlife is good. So it seems like Jesse highly recommends the place to visit. Thank you for being with us on Tourist Journeys, it's Travel Stories, and see you next time.